End of the day, you're confused. Okay, what is the news? Why the people are talking about all these things? What the actual source was? You're lost. I find, as a print journalist, this is an opportunity. I'm not a pessimist because as the day takes over, the news channels will take over, and to the end of the day, they complete their job. Whether they have completed half or full, nobody knows, but they have definitely confused the readers. Morning, for a print journalist, I want to clear, okay, boss, this was the news. And this is the perspective. This exactly, as a print journalist, I'm trying to do, and I've told my reporters, please, you have 100 channels, consider this as your CCTVs. You can't have so many reporters across all the corners of the city or state or world or whatever it is. Consider this as your CCTVs. Find the visuals and go behind the whole thing and find out what the news is and report it. And I told my desk, bring the sensibility into the news and make it easily understandable. That's all. People want a simple 3-line news. So one headline, two kickers, and one small info box. That's all. So, thank you. And yeah. In trying to do this, see, you have seen, yeah, you can see lot of breaking stories that is coming up, and investigation, sting operation that's happening. But some of the biggest stories came from newspapers as well. You take about Commonwealth Games scandals or 2G scandals or whatever the scandals, they came from the print. And that means 24 into news channels are there, but there is a lot of opportunities for print as well, and we can come out with the most investigative and most impactful stories. And just to look at the regional newspapers, I am coming from a regional newspaper, Udayavani, and we are facing a little bit of difficult situation in this economic scenario. One, the metros like Bangalore, where the most of the advertisement chunks are coming to. I'm saying it is coming to. Even if I have some 10 lakh copies and 8 lakhs are from the villages and 2 lakhs for Bangalore, you know, that 8 lakhs are considered waste because 2 lakhs advertisements are coming for this 2 lakh copies. So this is the metro is an area which we get the most of the advertisements to. And in this metro area, readership is shifting from regional languages to the English language. So that means somewhere it's a threat for the regional language newspaper. On the other hand, the Indian languages are growing day by day, and that's how the circulations are also growing up. But they are to the rural areas. The cost of reaching those areas are increasing day by day. That means my revenues are going up and costs are increasing. So it's a catch-22 situation for me. So probably we can ponder on more on these things. Let me not finish off everything here. Thanks.
Thank you, Ravi. You know, Akar Patel is perhaps the most exciting columnist in the subcontinent today. He's certainly the most provocative columnist in our times. And while we went local, looked at the question at a micro level, you know, with Ravi, you know, I'm saying, is there something wrong with Indian journalism per se? Because in the developed world at least, they have crossed these questions before: ownership, corporatization, costs, declining circulation for print, for instance, cross ownership of media, big ownership. They've seen everything. We know that 5 advertising agencies in the world control everything in the world, in media, for instance. We know that. They have the problem perhaps in a much bigger way than we have. Is there an ethical crisis in the Indian imagination? Indians, there's something wrong with this. That's my question to Akar, actually, because he's always abusing us, I think, in his columns, Indians, I'm saying. And, you know, there must be a valid reason, perhaps. And you also look at the way Indian television anchors behave. You know, I don't want to name anybody, but you see how television anchors behave. Is there a need to behave like that? What do you think, Akar?
We're a nation whose archaeological survey is digging right now for dream gold, so we shouldn't take ourselves very seriously. News is a very serious business. The problem of quality is not really a problem. If you look at newspapers the world over, they tend to be segmented. There is a quality end, which is a high quality end right on top. That's generally defined in terms of broadsheet. Culturally, it tends to be high church. By that I mean classical music, classical dance, theatre. And there is a lower end, which is populist, tends to go after the stories of specific individuals, celebrity news and so on. The problem in India is that we have very little of that top end, and most of the media, including what we would call the quality media, is at the bottom end. That is the reason why the Times of India is not, for the world, at the same level as the New York Times or the Guardian. It doesn't have the credibility, though it has a much bigger readership. It makes more profit than the New York Times, but it doesn't have the credibility because it doesn't operate at that top end. It operates primarily at that bottom end, going after the stories of individuals, doing a lot of celebrity. Broadly speaking, I would say that in India, journalism is poor, second rate if not third rate. And by journalism, I mean the product, the newspaper, mainly because that is the field in which I work, and in the people who make it. Why? I think the filter is very bad. Journalism is essentially about what you filter out, that you need to put something to your readers. You've got to block things from going to them. In our country, the filter doesn't exist in many publications. To the extent that it does, it's not a very good filter. Why? First, the problem of quality journalists. There's very little training. I've worked in 6 or 7 newspapers. I've worked in language newspapers as well, where it's even worse. But the amount of training that a journalist receives in the civilized world is not given to her or him in this country. A second problem, and that is related, is that because salaries are so low, journalism has never attracted the sort of talent that banking has, or even lower paying jobs such as the civil services tend to attract much smarter people than journalism. This is changing to some extent, but not a very large extent. I think journalism still is maybe 9th out of 10 choices or 19th out of 20 choices. We tend to assuage ourselves, people like Prakash and me, by saying that there is a higher calling, but at the end of the day, it should also be about money. Second problem is the morality of proprietors. A lot of newspapers in the West moved out of the family system and went into trusts. In India, that has not happened. Even our most venerable newspaper, The Hindu, there is a squabble amongst family members over who gets what job within the paper and so on. And all of it is like that. It's so bad in language journalism that many regional newspaper reporters don't get a salary. There's no money given to them. They are expected to make their money out of fixing something with the local district magistrate or the collector. And this is a norm. I've worked in a Gujarati newspaper in Gujarat, and this is the norm. It is not the exception. This is the rule. That many newspapers operate their Mofussil reporters without salary. This is the sort of standard that we have. The last aspect is that the readership is poor. I don't think that somebody said that the luxury market in India is big. It's not very big. We are 200 million people less than China. The consumption of luxury products here is 1/6. It's not a very large sum per capita. It's not a very large sum generally. If you have poor journalism, poor proprietors, poor readership, you will have media products that don't match up with the rest of the world. That is why, even though we share a language with very large parts of the civilized world, we're not able to contribute much to it. When Murdoch wants to hire editors, whether for his high-end newspapers or his low-end newspapers, He goes to Australia, he goes to England, he goes to... Very rarely is an Indian editor picked up and given a job in the US. And this is not because they are racist. They might be, but this is not the reason why. The reason is we are not good enough. And I would include myself in that. I'm saying that if we are unable to look at these fundamental problems, I've tried to be as little subjective as I possibly could. These are facts, what I've just told you. If we are unable to accept these absolutely basic things, there is no way that we can expect the larger picture to improve. It won't. No other market in the world has 40 news channels. I think we have more than 40. I don't think it's 40. I think it's about 100. The US has only 4. And the reason is, for them it's a serious business. They don't take it casually. They know that people have to be paid properly. They know that viewers and readers will not tolerate rubbish. If a newspaper in the US, if it were to be found out that the New York Times was in bed with the companies that it was writing about, that it was taking money for printing news, its readership would run away. That's not going to happen here. I think that is the reason why, despite a lot of fairly small changes that might come about in the industry by way of regulation and so on the whole, I don't see it improving in 50, 75 years.
Are any of the organizers here? I'm just saying, how much time do we have? 10 minutes. Okay, we will do questions for 10 minutes.
Actually, he asked about the behavior of the analysts.
I think that one of the most talented journalists in this country is Arnab Goswami. When you have, and I don't mean this in a snide way, I've been on his show. One very strange thing is when and this is true also of Rajdeep, when you go into an ad break, Arnab will ask what's going on Rajdeep's show, what's there on Nidhi's show. He's always interested in what the other channels are doing. I think somebody said that it's about monitoring what's going on. He does that really well. And he's able to understand his audience better than any other anchor I know. He knows where the quality of the audience is, that the English-speaking audience in India is here. It is interested in this, and he gives them this, and he does this really well. And that takes, this is about craft. This is not about morality.
Yeah, I'd like to give a question to
So we can take questions.
Maya Sharma.
I'm sorry, you'll have to ask me. I will say who will do, otherwise we'll never get through this. We'll have a riot here. One by one we'll do. We'll come to you next, okay?
Can I? All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, my question is to Preeti ma'am. You mentioned right to press. Okay. So a small doubt. Well, what I want to say is, like, we all know, a safety pin to a nuclear fission reaction has a positive and a negative end. So how do you expect a citizen to respond to right to press? I mean, I believe you understand the analogy I'm making.
Can you just repeat the question?
Like, most of the cases we have seen, I don't know if we have been misguided by the scenarios, people do try to misuse the right.
Misuse the right, as in you're saying the journalist...
Maybe they try to dig into...
Media, are you saying the media tries to misuse the right? Or are you saying...
Not the media.
The public tries to misuse the right?
No, not the public. The media representative...
So through let's say an RTI or something.
Take 5 seconds and frame your question so that the question finishes in 10 or 12 words.
How can right to press be justified, and like how far this is fine to a citizen?
How far this is... I think, I mean, okay, I will give it over to you, but I think it is a very fundamental right, and you compare the jurisdictions in the Middle East, in China, where you don't have that, and you realize, how important it is. Any right will always have the risk of being misused, yeah? But it's sort of up to individuals, as responsible citizens, not to misuse it. But misuse will happen, of any right for that matter.
Just want to add that there is no right to press in India. It's a derivation from freedom of speech That's all. There is no right to press anywhere in the world. There's only, I mean, there are countries which do have certain... There are censorship.
No, there's no time for a second question. There are
So I'm just saying that when you're saying right to press, remember that it's just a derivation of freedom of speech. A journalist has exactly the same right that a normal citizen has in this country according to the constitution. He has no special privileges. It's been given as a statutory thing by the governments as an accreditation or as a PIB card. These are things which are to facilitators. They do not change your constitutional position. Like an IAS officer has a different position under the constitution. A journalist does not. An editor does not in India. They are just normal citizens. You have exactly the same right if you go to a YouTube as a journalist would.
Yeah, I'd like to give a question to Madam Maya Sharma. Actually, when you talked about, you said about the Delhi gang rape was highly focused in the media. Right? But the same kind of a situation happened in Bangalore itself, that being a Bangalore journalist, why this kind of news was not highly focused in the print as well as the TV channels. There are enough gang rapes happen even beyond the Delhi gang rape also, after the Delhi gang rape also. Because the Delhi gang rape was highly politically motivated, that's the thing that it was highly focused in the TV channels, right? I mean, in Bangalore...
Look, I'm sorry. I'm going to be really strict about this to the point of rudeness. 10 or 12 words. If you can't frame a question, write it down, take the time, and then ask.
My question is, the gang rape had happened in Bangalore also. Why it was not highly focused by the media?
We got that question. Thanks.
Yes, it's still happening. It is still going on around the country. It is very, very difficult to gauge, firstly, at a certain level, what it is, why this one particular thing and not that particular thing. To be cynical, yes, if something happens in the capital of the country, it is given more attention than if it happens in a remote village in Tamil Nadu, a remote village in elsewhere, or even elsewhere, even in the big cities around the country. That is a sad reality. That in the bigger cities, there is more attention paid to crime, to situations. That is a true thing. That is a very sad thing. For some reason, that particular horror of that captured the attention. I think it was a symbol of what was going on. It was a symbol of violence against women. It was something that could be identified and focused upon. When you talk about violence against women, rape, aggression, sexism, it's all airy-fairy, we can't define it. That particular rape case managed to focus, to give vent to the anger. No, I don't think so.
I'm sorry, we cannot do. You have to take it offline, okay? Yeah, please.
Hi, my question is on the TRAI 10+2 ruling, which seems to be primarily impacting news channels because it's a huge dependency on advertising revenue. And it's almost 50% down, essentially, if the ruling were to come into effect, because most news channels are operating at 24, 25 minutes, especially vernacular. So you have a point of view on that?
No, let me briefly explain what the question means. Actually, there is the TRAI is trying to tell news channels to actually increase the amount of, to limit the amount of advertising time, and news channels are understandably upset over it. So.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to take it? Because BBC by its own standards doesn't do more than 12 minutes.
That question was not for you actually, Preet. No, Preet, that question was not for you.
The question is for, who would you want?
I think Veer should answer it. Yeah.
Since I'm jobless and I don't get funded by advertisers. Okay. You know, my own feeling, my own hunch, and this is a pure conspiracy theory. I have no quote, no source, nothing to confirm it. And strictly within this room, never to be quoted again, my own feeling is that the entire TRAI 10+2 thing is an offshoot of the TAM wars that went on. I don't want any confirmations. I'm not looking at any this one. The gauge that some people were suggesting to me is, look, there could be, the Indian Broadcasting Association came up with certain standards, certain points of censorship. You can bring down 10+2, you can bring down 8+2, but as long as your fundamentals are going to be the same, as long as you're going to be, what would it do? It would push the ad rates up. It would probably bring their revenues down. You may find that in the stock markets, you may find that difference in numbers, but it at least to my point of view, I don't think it's going to make any great change to journalism per se. As Maya was saying, it was a low-cost model that's adopted, and not just in India, across the US as well. The studio-based shows are primarily on because they are low-cost and easier to produce. I think it's probably the BBC, which is the only channel which still invests, and Al Jazeera to a large extent, which still invest enormously in field reportage. The rest of them have gone into analysis, and there's just one very quick reason for that. You were speaking about television, and I was waiting for my chance to speak back. Because usually, the print journalist doesn't get time on a TV show. Okay, so simple and straight. We were just talking, I was just talking to somebody outside. The thing is that in today's world, information, somebody was asking me, why is this election tracker happening? Why is it that you keep constantly wanting to predict election results? Do you know what you want as a viewer? Have you ever wondered, and last 8 months I've only been looking at myself as a viewer, not as a journalist. Do you know what I want? I don't want what's happened. I want to know what's going to happen. That's your psychology. And that's all that I will give you as a journalist. You want that speculation. You find that riveting. You don't want to know what's already happened. Just look at yourself. If I tell you that, you know, the elections in Madhya Pradesh will be held in November, arey chodo, who's going to win? That'll be your first question to any journalist, whether it's print or television. Who's going to win 2014?